What's up, y'all? I'm out here on the range, as you can see back behind me, on what's turned out to be a fantastic day to do some testing out here. Temperatures, I think mid-high 50s out here right now. The sun's out nice and bright, but it's got some clouds covering it, so it ain't baking me out here. Almost perfect out here to get this testing done. I have done a couple so far that really weren't the greatest in the world. Hopefully this one right here will be very interesting. If nothing else, it's some new kid on the block 9mm. So as usual, the jelly contraption set up ready to go with a couple of chronos and 2 blocks of gel. Now again, I've done a couple of tests in these. They kind of got all over the place. A couple of little stragglers right here in the front, but I don't think that's going to bother me. Hopefully I can do good enough and miss those right here, because I'm pretty sure we're going to need both of these full blocks and may even go out the end with what we're testing here. Now I'm still leaving the heavy clothing barrier here that's got the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. I know, you know, game out in the wilderness ain't wearing the denim, fleece, and 2 layers of t-shirt, but they got fur and hide and all that good stuff. So just think of it as another barrier that you're going to need to get through. So what we've got here is some new 9mm from Hornady. It's their Backcountry Defense. This is 9mm 138 grain plus P. Now this is using their new DGH projectile. It's their dangerous game handgun. As you can see here, it's a brass case cartridge. Now it's sort of a hollow point. It's kind of an opening on the front, but again, it's not made to expand at all. They're not looking for any expansion. In their own words, their main goal for this right here is no deflection and maximum penetration. So you've got this 138 grain projectile moving supposedly at 1150, and that's supposedly out of a 4-inch barrel. So if it is actually moving 1150 from a 4-inch barrel, we should see more than that here out of G17, and that right there is some pretty decent energy for 9mm. That's already over 400 right there, 400 foot-pounds if we hit what they're claiming. Now some of the benefits they claim with this, with that projectile design, it's supposed to be better than just a standard jacketed round because you don't get any separation. Supposedly the nose is bonded to the core there, so no separation at all. It all stays together, no deformation to speak of, and you get really nice straight line penetration. And then the main benefit that they tout over a hard cast round, which is what most people would probably think of as far as wood defense, is the lack of lead smoke from a lead round, supposedly faster follow-up shots because you don't have that impairing your vision. Now in the case of what we're running this against today, I've got some Underwood here. We've got some Underwood 9mm plus P 147 grain hard cast. Now it's a hard cast round, but it does have their black cherry coating. You can see here, nice nickel plated case on this one with that hard cast round coated with their black cherry coating. Now this is a proprietary thing from them, I believe. It's a polymer based coating that gets rid of the lead fouling, gets rid of all that lead smoke, self-lubricating. You don't have to worry about gas cutting, gas rings on it or anything like that. So with that being said, I mean, all of those features are pretty much negating what Hornady says is the benefit of this. So it'll be very interesting to see the difference here. Now again, this is 147 with the Underwood saying 1100 feet per second. So a little bit slower, heavier round. So if we go by that math right there, this actually edges out this Underwood as far as energy by maybe like 10. But with all that long-winded explanation out of the way, as you can see, what we're testing both of these out of today is my G17 Gen 4 with the 4.5-inch barrel. Now these are made for handgun purposes and they are tested supposedly from a 4-inch barrel. So this should actually be pretty interesting. I was kind of on the fence of whether I was even going to pick these rounds up and test them because, I mean, again, there's no expansion at all. But I think the main thing that you're going to be interested in seeing right here is the velocity and energy. And now that I'm putting that freeze frame with that temporary cavity there, that'll be nice to see what we get from that. But that's plenty of talking about it. Let me get this stuff set up and see what we can get from them. All right, let's get us some numbers on this stuff, y'all. I'm gonna do a 5-round average from each one of them, starting with this Hornady first. Now remember, this is saying 1150 and they were claiming that from a 4-inch barrel. This is 4.5, so we should see every bit of that. Now you're gonna see multiple velocity readings here from the radar, the large numbers right here at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. The first one there is set for 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is here at 10 feet. And then I've got the others set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. So 1150, is that what I said? I'm pretty sure 1150. Let's see what we get here from this. That would be nice to exceed this, and we should if those numbers are true. It's kind of loud. 1173. Another 1173. 1180, 1166, and 1162, so we definitely exceeded what they claim. That's some nice energy right there for a 9mm. Let's check out the average. All right, we got some good numbers out of this stuff for sure. For being a 9mm, a 5-round average was 1171 feet per second. We had a 17 extreme spread with a 6.9 standard deviation, so nice consistency from this stuff and nice velocity for a 138 grain 9mm. I mean, that's easily over 400 foot-pounds of energy. So as crazy as it might sound, this Underwood hardcast has got a near impossible uphill battle as far as matching the performance right here, if those numbers are correct. But let me get it reset and see what it does. All right, let's see what this 147 grain hardcast does. Now remember, this is saying 1100 feet per second. I didn't see any kind of test barrel length listed, so I'll be really curious to see what we get here. Don't feel as strong. 1097. 1137, spoke too soon. 1148, 1102, and 1135, so it proved me wrong. Started out a little shy on that first one, but it ramped it on up. Let's check out the average. All right, y'all, it looks like we got us a nice battle on our hands right here. The 5-round average from this hardcast was 1124 feet per second. Now, we did have an extreme spread of 52 with a 23.1 standard deviation. Looks like that first low probably is what got us out of whack there. 1097, high all the way up to 1148, 1124 on this, and if you remember on the Hornady, it was 1171, so you're talking about 47 feet per second faster with that Hornady. I'm guessing we're gonna be right around within 10 foot-pounds of energy with both of these. Now, all that being said, again, all we're looking for right here in the gel is pure penetration, and curious to see what that temporary cavity looks like. So let's get all this stuff set up. Y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, is it ready for dangerous game or just a fancy name jelly time? We'll put one of each into the gel, starting with this Hornady first. I do have my towels and stuff at the end because I'm expecting these to go the distance. With this kind of energy and this kind of weight, it may not go all the way, but it's probably going pretty doggone close. All right, that probably went all the way. Let's go see what we got. All right, that one sure enough went the distance. No surprise right there. So I feel like this Underwood probably will too after seeing that right there. All right, I'm sure that did too. Let's go check these things out. All right, let's check out what we got down here. This test went a whole lot smoother than I thought it was. I was expecting a bunch of curving and swerving and sending multiple rounds and who knows what down here, but really they behaved just exactly like they did, with the exception of a big tumble down here, but we'll talk about that in a second. The first one here, that's on the bottom. That's this one right here. They all stayed completely out of all those other tracks and everything, believe it or not. This is the Hornady here. It comes in, as you can see, I mean, straight line. You got some disruption, but you know, again, that's just a projectile going through because there was no expansion. Now, if you keep on following it, goes into the second block here, keeps on trucking, and then we got some tumbling right here. Now, as far as I know, you're not supposed to get any tumbling from that round. That's supposed to be one of its big things. No kind of deflection and just stay in straight line. But for whatever reason you got tumbled, to its defense, I will say that a lot of times when projectiles pass in between both of these blocks, that kind of gets them out of whack and it does make them tumble. So it could have been that right there, not making any excuses, but it could be that right there. But in either way, it keeps on trucking, goes out of the end of the block here, and this one actually goes through a couple of layers of this green towel and then gets caught. I'll show you when I bring you up closer how many layers they go through, but completely intact with no deformation. And then up top here, not the very top, but the second one, that's the Underwood hardcast. Pretty much the same story here. Now the disruption looks a little bigger on that that, but it's probably just how I'm looking at it. Comes in here, disruption, energy transfer all the way through that first block. Again, goes into the second block right here, keeps on trucking, no tumbling at all from this one. I mean, it stays straight as an arrow all the way through out the end of this second block. And this hard cast actually went through all the layers of this folded green towel, all the layers of this folded orange towel, all the layers of this folded white towel, and stopped on the sheet back here, and it still put a heck of a smack on the cinder block that was behind all of this stuff. So obviously, as far as penetration, they both are 32 plus inches, but as far as looking at them up close, again, the bottom one, that's the Hornady, and then up top here, you got one in between them, but up top, that's the hard cast. You can see both of them travels on through here. I'll stay on the Hornady at first. Then the tumbling here, you see all that tumbling. If we go up, you can see the hard cast still a straight line. Hornady keeps on going after that tumbling right about here, goes out of the end there. The hard cast, you can see it goes out of the end there. Now the Hornady, again, if you look at what I got down here, the Hornady went through both of these and stopped in the middle there. The hard cast went through those, the rest of those, both of these, the rest of that orange towel, and this white one was brand new is how I know for sure, and it's the one up at the top. That was the hard cast. So it goes through the white one all the way through all layers of this white one. You can see the hole right there, and then you can see the mark where it actually smacks the front of this sheet. And then if you look on the back of the sheet, just the energy from it put a big old crater in that cinder block. All right, let's take a look at these projectiles. Really not a whole lot exciting here like it is every time when you get non-expanders, but you can tell they did a fantastic job of holding together and absolutely nothing lost. Even this one here, absolutely no deformation at all. So they definitely do what they claim to do. As far as which one is better looking at these, I mean, they were right there neck and neck on the velocity as far as the chrono into gel, which would give this hard cast a little bit of an energy edge, I'm assuming. I hadn't done the math yet. For whatever reason, it definitely seemed to penetrate further. It could have been because of the tumbling on this. If I was guessing, that would be my guess. But either way, I think both of these did exactly what they're supposed to do. Well, let's get to some measurements on them and see what we got. Any kind of weight loss would just be purely manufacturing tolerances. This Hornady started at 138 and it is at 138.0, so absolutely nothing lost there. The hard cast was at 147 and it's at 146.8, so again, nothing lost from either one of these. And then as far as the size, we'll do a base diameter and a length. You got 354 for the diameter with a length of 650, and then on the hard cast here, you got 355 for the diameter with a length of 632. And there you go, y'all, the 9mm plus P Hornady Backcountry Defense versus a 147 grain hard cast from Underwood. Really great performance from both of these. As far as what they're supposed to do, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. Nice energy for a 9mm right here. Now, as far as what kind of dangerous game I would be okay with having 9mm up against, I'm definitely not going out looking for no brown bear with no 9mm, you know, stuff like mountain lions, cougars, things like that. Yeah, sure, but I ain't hunting no brown bear with no 9mm. But let me know in the comments what y'all think about that. What kind of stuff would you feel prepared against with a 9mm like this? All right, y'all, I think I'm gonna end off the day right there with what was a pretty interesting 9mm test. Nothing really surprising here, but it was interesting to see the energy and velocity difference between these. They're nearly identical as far as the energy on them, just the velocity difference because of the weight. Which one would I prefer? I mean, just based off of what I saw right here, I would just go with that Underwood hard cast, and it's probably actually less cost than this Hornady. Well, I know for a fact it is. It's a good bit less cost than this Hornady. So from what I've seen out of both of these results, for what this is meant to be used for, I think the hard cast took it right here. Now, that being said, there was definitely no loser here. They were pretty much tied. I would take whichever one if I were looking for this kind of performance from a 9mm. Personally, though, if I'm going out in the woods and worried about dangerous game, I'm just stepping it on up to a 10mm. And speaking of that, I do have these Backcountry Defense rounds in 10mm, 357, and I think 44 24 mag, or I may not have picked those up yet, but I'm gonna be testing those soon. One thing I'm really not absolutely sure about yet is putting some kind of harder barrier. I started to put a little piece of 3/8 inch plywood after a little bit of gel here, but to be honest with you, I mean, if you're talking about like a bear skull, plywood don't even come close. Bear skull is incredibly hard. It's way harder than a piece of plywood. And you know, I'm not a expert bear hunter by any means, but if I had the choice, I'm not aiming for the skull. I mean, even if it's a direct charge at you, I'm going for the torso in this area. Now, yeah, you may have to get through the skull just depending on how it's coming at you. Good, hopefully not coming at you at all, but I'm not purposely aiming for the skull. But I've already rambled on way too much in this video right here. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think about the performance from this stuff, and again, what would you feel prepared against with a 9mm like this? I mean, what kind of dangerous game would you feel okay up against if you had to use this 9mm? Huge thanks as always to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got tons more stuff planned, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.